Hey everyone. So in the last video, we introduced the concept of liquidity preference, and we showed how changes in monetary policy can influence the interest rate. Basically, the Fed increases and decreases the money supply to change the interest rate. So to get from the theory of liquidity preference to the LM curve, all we have to do is add income back into the money demand function. This is the same money demand function that we had back in chapter 4, and all we're saying with this is that as somebody has higher income, they're going to want to hold more money. They're probably going to spend more, and to do that, they need to hold more money. And so the LM curve is really just all of the combinations of the interest rate and income that are going to bring the money market to equilibrium, that are going to equate that supply and demand of real money balances. And so our equation for the LM curve is just going to say that real money balances are equal to money demand. The total amount of money in the economy is equal to the amount of money that people are going to want to hold given interest rates and income. And so to keep everything straight, the IS curve is really just the equilibrium of the goods market. It's just the goods side of the economy. The LM curve is just the money market. It's just the money supply and money demand. And so we can graph the LM curve from the theory of liquidity preference pretty easily. We can start with that same basic market for money balances, where we have a fixed money supply and a downward sloping money demand curve. But our money demand curve is no longer just a function of the interest rate. It's now a function of the interest rate and income. And so let's say that people's income increased. So we were initially here at this interest rate R1, and people's income increased. There was more total spending in the economy, and so that's going to shift this whole money demand curve to the right. As people had more income, they wanted to hold more cash. So we now have this new money demand curve at income level Y2. And because the money supply was fixed here at M bar over P bar, the only thing that could change is the interest rate. And so this increase in income caused interest rates to go up. So we can take this and put it in our LM curve by just showing how this change in income changed interest rates. So if we were initially right here at Y1 and we had interest rate R1, and we had interest rate R1, we were initially at this point. But then income increased. We went up to point Y2 right here. And when we were at Y2, we increased to interest rate R2. And so we were now at this point here. And the connection of these 2 points, that's our LM curve. That shows how the equilibrium in the money market changed when we changed income. When we changed income, we increased the demand for money. And when we increase the demand for money, we increase the interest rate. So we have this positive relationship between income and interest rates. As people became wealthier, they wanted to hold more money, driving up the price of money. And so it's important to remember that the LM curve is always going to be upward sloping. A lot of people, similar to the way we used icy slopes for the IS curve, LM a lot of times people remember with lofty mountains. They always slope upward. And so any excess demand in the money market has to increase the interest rate. The interest rate is going to have to rise to compensate for this increase in money demand to restore that equilibrium in the money market. Again, the LM curve is just a collection of equilibria from the money market. It's just the money market equilibrium. And so we can take that and see how changes in monetary policy are going to shift the total LM curve, how changes in the money supply are going to change how that LM curve behaves. So if we come back to the whiteboard, and we start with that same market for money balances that we had before. So this time, let's say we have M1 over P. We have the traditional money demand function. And let's say we start right here at interest rate R1. Now let's say that the Fed decreases the money supply, that they cut the money supply from M1 back here to M2. We saw an example just like this last time. They didn't change anything else about the model. They didn't change people's income or anything like that. All the Fed did was decrease the money supply from M1 to M2. And when they did that, because they didn't change anything about the money demand curve, the only thing that could change is the interest rate. Basically, a decrease in money demand increased the price of money, and therefore increased the interest rate. So we can take that over here to our LM curve. And so we were initially at interest rate R1 with this income level Y. And so we had an LM curve that looked something like this. But when the Fed decreased interest rates, they raised each interest rate at that given income level. Basically, because they didn't change anybody's income, all they did was increase interest rates. They raised the LM curve. So that now at that income level Y, interest rates were higher. And that shifted the whole LM curve up to LM2. And so when the Fed reduced the money supply, that caused the interest rate to increase. Basically, money became more scarce. And when money became more scarce, it shifted this entire LM curve upwards.